John Neely Kennedy was asked to sing at a talent show as a joke, but his performance won him a spot. Lily Thompson hunched low in her auditorium seat, her hoodie pulled tight around her face as if she could disappear. The Baton Rouge Middle School buzzed with restless energy, whispers and giggles bouncing across the crowd. Principal Guidry's voice rang out through the microphone. "Please welcome United States Senator John Neely Kennedy." The room erupted with phones flashing and laughter as her uncle strode onto the stage, his southern drawl and tortoise-shell glasses unmistakable. For Lily, this was a nightmare. Being the niece of a senator only made her classmates tease her harder, mocking his country sayings. Now he was here, live, in front of everyone. Caleb, her only friend, nudged her. "Dude, your uncle's here. Why didn't you tell me?" Lily shook her head. She hadn't known. Her mom mentioned he might stop by during a campaign trip, but she never expected him to show up at career day. On stage, Kennedy looked less like a powerful politician and more like a quirky relative, his rumpled suit and pelican tie setting him apart. He greeted the principal with a grin and began speaking. "Y'all, thanks for having me. Heard my niece goes to school here, so I thought I'd drop by." Every head turned toward Lily, her face burning red. For 20 minutes, Kennedy held the room, telling stories of his path from small-town lawyer to U.S. Senator, sprinkling in jokes about gumbo and TikTok. Laughter rippled through the students, but Lily only sank deeper, dreading what might come next. Then Derek LeBlanc, the school bully, raised his hand with a smirk. "Senator, what are you bad at? Bet you wouldn't last 5 minutes in our talent show." The auditorium fell silent, all eyes fixed on the senator. Principal Guidry reached for the microphone, ready to stop the exchange, but Kennedy raised his hand and chuckled. "Good question, son. I'm bad at plenty. Can't cook beyond gumbo, can't dance without falling over, and I surely can't make sense of TikTok." Laughter spread through the crowd, but Derek wasn't finished. "So you're not good at regular stuff. Bet you wouldn't survive our talent show." The challenge hung in the air. Students gasped, whispering excitedly. Lily's stomach twisted. Humiliation was seconds away, but her uncle's grin only widened. "Tell me about this talent show," he asked. The principal explained it was a spring showcase with an art scholarship for the winner. Derek leaned back, smug. "No offense, sir, but you'd flop. It'd be embarrassing." Kennedy paused, then nodded slowly. "You know, stepping out of your comfort zone is what makes life fun." Challenge accepted. The room erupted, cheers mixing with disbelief. Lily wanted to vanish. Her classmates swarmed her with questions as the bell rang. Near the exit, Derek cornered her. "Your uncle's cool for taking my dare," he sneered. "Shame if he flops." On camera. "My cousins are bringing a news crew." That evening, Lily found Kennedy at home sipping sweet tea with her mother. "Ready for my talent show debut?" he said cheerfully. Lily exploded. "It's not fun, it's a disaster. Derek set this up to make you fail. If you flop, it'll ruin my life." Her uncle's smile softened. "Darling." People laughed. "When I ran for Senate, if I'd been scared of looking foolish, I'd never have made it. Folks think they know what others can do. Derek thinks he's got me figured out. He's wrong." Late that night, unable to sleep, Lily peeked into the guest room. Kennedy sat on the bed, papers scattered, banjo in hand. "You're really doing this?" she whispered. He nodded, strumming a gentle tune. "Fear of looking foolish is just fear of opinions. Courage means being scared but acting anyway. I need your help, you know what kids like." Lily hesitated, torn between dread and loyalty. At last, she sighed. "Fine, but don't blame me if Derek posts this online." Kennedy laughed, his eyes twinkling. "Deal. We start tomorrow." With only days until the show, Baton Rouge buzzed with anticipation. What began as a simple dare grew into a spectacle. The performance was moved from the school auditorium to the community center, a venue large enough for concerts after tickets sold out. Hashtags like Senator Sings flooded social media, and news vans circled the school. For Lily, the excitement only deepened her dread. At home, she heard the sound of banjo strings drifting from the guest room. Cautiously, she knocked. "Come in, darling," Kennedy called. Inside, the room had become a rehearsal space. Sheet music covered the bed, a laptop played Cajun fiddle tracks, and her uncle stood with the banjo, practicing with fierce concentration. "Ready to help your old uncle make history?" he asked. Lily shifted uneasily. "You sounded good last night, but what if it's not enough?" Kennedy set the banjo aside. "Fair question. That's why I need an audience to tell me what works and what doesn't. You know your school crowd better than I do." He began strumming Jolie Blonde, his voice gravelly yet soulful. Lily listened, amazed by the depth of emotion in the music, though she worried the students might not understand Cajun songs. "It's amazing, Uncle John," she admitted, "but the kids might not get it. It's different." Just then, a quiet knock came at the door. It was Min, the new student Lily had recently befriended, her violin case over her shoulder. "I heard you might need help," Min said shyly. Kennedy welcomed her in. "Call me John. And yes, I could use a hand." Min examined the banjo, noticing a worn string. "I can fix that. My dad's a musician." With practiced ease, she restrung and tuned it, then adjusted the backing track on her laptop. "The fiddle's drowning out your voice. I'll balance it." Kennedy watched, impressed. "You've got a gift, Min." Between songs, Kennedy shared a faded photo with Lily, a young boy beside an elderly woman holding instruments. "That's Miss Clara," he explained softly. "She gave me this banjo and taught me music. Said one day it might lift folks up. I put it aside for law and politics, but I never forgot her words." Night after night, they practiced. Lily suggested stage movements, Min coached his breathing, and Kennedy pushed through nerves. One evening, he admitted quietly, "I'm nervous, y'all. Senate debates are one thing, but this, it's personal." Lily was stunned to hear him say it. "You're nervous?" He nodded. "Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway." Meanwhile, Derek's taunts grew louder. "Your uncle's gonna play hillbilly tunes," he jeered in the cafeteria. But Lily felt a shift. She wasn't just embarrassed anymore. She wanted to defend him. Min stood by her side, calm and steady. "Bullies just talk big," she told Derek. "Your uncle's got more guts than you ever will." Finally, the night of the show arrived. The community center pulsed with excitement, packed to the rafters. Parents, students, even local politicians filled the hall. News cameras glowed red at the back, recording every moment. Backstage, Lily paced nervously while Min tuned her violin. Kennedy slipped in at the last minute, banjo case in hand, his suit rumpled but his eyes steady. "Sorry for the drama," he said. "Ready to stir up some Bayou magic?" Principal Guidry hurried over. "Senator, you're our finale. 1 hour." Kennedy only asked for a quiet room to tune up. In the dressing room, Min checked the track, Lily fussed with props, and Kennedy sipped sweet tea for his throat. For a moment, his hands trembled on the strings. "Are you scared?" Lily asked softly. He smiled. "Of course. Everyone's scared before a big test. The trick is to play. Anyway." He pulled out Miss Clara's photo, gazing at it with quiet reverence. "She told me my music could lift people. Tonight's my chance." The show began. Students performed skits, dances, songs, but the restless crowd waited for one act. Finally, a stagehand called, "Senator Kennedy, you're up." Kennedy squared his shoulders, winked at Lily, and walked into the lights. The banjo gleamed in his hands as the room fell silent. He struck the first note, clear, strong, and began to sing Jambalaya. The Cajun rhythm rolled through the hall, raw and soulful, carrying the spirit of the bayou. The crowd leaned forward, listening in stunned silence. Derek's smirk faltered. When the final chord rang out, the silence broke into thunderous applause, cheers echoing against the rafters. Kennedy smiled, humble but proud, and raised his banjo for the next song, an original piece he had written as a boy, full of resilience and hope. As the final note of Kennedy's original song faded, the community center erupted. The crowd leapt to their feet, a standing ovation shaking the rafters. Parents clapped furiously, students cheered, and even the reporters at the back lowered their cameras for a moment, caught in the wave of emotion. Kennedy bowed humbly, his smile vulnerable, and caught Lily's eye. She clapped until her hands stung, pride swelling in her chest. Backstage, chaos reigned as students and teachers crowded to congratulate him. Lily and Min pushed through to reach him. His banjo case lay open, Miss Clara's photo resting inside. "You were incredible," Lily blurted, her fear replaced with pure admiration. Min added, "Your breathing was perfect. My dad would have loved it." Kennedy tucked the photo away, his eyes soft. Miss Clara would be proud. Music's meant to be shared. Principal Guidry rushed in, practically glowing. "Senator, the audience is begging for an encore." Kennedy glanced at Lily, who nodded, eagerly. With a grin, he walked back onto the stage. The cheers rose again as he strummed another tune, his voice steady, his spirit unguarded. For Lily, the moment was unforgettable. Her uncle, not just a senator, but a man reclaiming a piece of himself. The next morning, the performance was everywhere. Local headlines screamed, "Senator's Banjo stuns Louisiana." Clips flooded, social media, hashtags trended nationwide, and even Derek's mocking texts turned into a simple message on Lily's phone. "Your uncle's legit. Sorry." For the first time, she walked through school without dread, only pride. At breakfast, Kennedy sipped his coffee as Lily scrolled through the reactions. "Fame's a flash in the pan," he said calmly. "But last night mattered, and it's only the beginning." He revealed his plan. A scholarship in Miss Clara's name, funding music lessons and college tuition for talented students who couldn't afford them. "Min," he said warmly, "you'll be the first recipient." Min's eyes welled up, her hands trembling as she whispered, "Thank you." But Kennedy wasn't finished. He spoke of launching the Clara Thibodeaux Music Foundation, dedicated to supporting rural music programs across Louisiana. "Miss Clara told me to lift folks up someday. This is how." He invited Lily and Min to serve as youth ambassadors, traveling to share music and stories with other students. Weeks later, the three of them stood in a Cajun town at the foundation's launch event. Local kids played Zydeco, their instruments filling the air with life. Families gathered, smiling as the music carried through the streets. Kennedy addressed the crowd, banjo in hand, while Lily and Min stood proudly by his side. For Lily, the transformation was complete. The embarrassment she once feared was gone, replaced with the knowledge that courage wasn't about being flawless. It was about showing up, no matter the odds. She realized the talent show hadn't been about winning or losing at all. It had been about keeping a promise, about reclaiming a voice, about proving that one daring act could ripple far beyond a single stage. As Kennedy played alongside the children, the bayou echoed with laughter and song. Lily squeezed Min's hand, her heart swelling with pride. Her uncle wasn't just a senator anymore. He was a reminder that music, courage, and connection could change lives. And in that moment, she knew Miss Clara's legacy was alive, carried forward in every note. The Clara Thibodeaux Music Foundation grew faster than anyone expected. What started as a single scholarship turned into a movement across Louisiana. Within weeks, donations poured in from community members, small businesses, and even national figures who had seen Kennedy's viral performance online. News outlets picked up the story of the senator who put down politics for a banjo and inspired a generation. Lily watched in awe as her once quiet life transformed. At school, teachers asked her about the foundation's plans, and classmates who used to tease her now treated her with curiosity and respect. Even Derek, who had once smirked at her misery, kept his distance, his bravado replaced with silence. For the first time, Lily felt proud to be known as John Neely Kennedy's niece. On weekends, Lily, Min, and Kennedy traveled across the state, visiting small towns where music programs had been cut. They met children who had never touched an instrument before, their eyes lighting up when given a fiddle, accordion, or guitar. Kennedy shared Miss Clara's story, reminding them that courage often began with a single note. Min, her violin steady, in her hands, performed alongside him, her confidence growing with each show. Lily, though nervous at first, found her role too. She spoke to other kids her age about standing up to bullies and believing in themselves. "I used to be embarrassed about who I was," she admitted to a group of middle schoolers. "But I learned that sometimes the things we fear most are the things that make us strongest." Her words resonated deeply, and she realized she had a voice of her own. The foundation's first big event was held in New Orleans, a festival celebrating Cajun and Zydeco music. Thousands attended, filling the streets with dancing and song. Local musicians joined Kennedy on stage, and even Min's father, returning from his tour, performed proudly beside his daughter. The crowd swayed together, united by rhythm and tradition. Backstage, Kennedy smiled at Lily. "See, darling, Miss Clara was right. Music can lift folks up." Lily nodded, her heart swelling. She saw her uncle not as a politician, but as a man who had dared to be vulnerable in front of the world and changed it because of that courage. But Kennedy reminded them often that the spotlight was temporary. "Fame fades fast," he said, "but the real work is in what we leave behind." He worked tirelessly to ensure the foundation had resources to last, meeting with donors, setting up scholarships, and building partnerships with schools. For Lily and Min, the journey became more than just supporting Kennedy. It became their own mission. They learned to organize events, speak to communities, and share their own stories. Each time they saw a child pick up an instrument with shining eyes, they knew the ripple effect had begun. Months later, at a small-town gathering, Kennedy sat on a wooden stage, strumming softly as children played alongside him. The air was filled with laughter, clapping, and the beat of Zydeco drums. Lily sat nearby, her notebook open, sketching the moment. She realized the talent show had been just the beginning. She remembered how she once wished to disappear, ashamed of being connected to him. Now she understood that his courage had given her courage too. She could face the world, not by hiding, but by standing tall. As the sun set over the bayou, Kennedy finished his song and looked out at the smiling crowd. "This," he said quietly to Lily and Min, "is why we do it. One small act of courage can change everything." And in that golden light, with music echoing across Louisiana, Lily believed it. Months turned into a year, and the Clara Thibodeaux Music Foundation spread far beyond Louisiana. What began as a single scholarship had grown into a statewide network of music programs. Rural schools that had long gone silent now echoed with fiddles, accordions, and guitars. Children who once had no access to instruments proudly carried cases down dusty roads, their laughter mixing with the rhythm of Zydeco. For Kennedy, the change was personal. He had returned to something he had buried long ago, a boy with a banjo, who once believed music could speak louder than fear. His Senate work continued, but every free moment he had was dedicated to the foundation. Reporters still asked him about policy, but they always slipped in a question about the night of the talent show. He answered each time with a smile. It wasn't about me. It was about proving that courage belongs to everyone. Lily found herself transforming too. She no longer shrank from attention. At each event, she stood beside her uncle and Min, speaking to crowds about what it meant to face ridicule and rise above it. Her words carried weight because she spoke from experience. Students who once mocked her now looked at her with respect. Some even admitted quietly, "You inspired me to try out for choir," or, "I picked up the guitar because of your uncle." Lily realized that the embarrassment she once feared had turned into her strength. Min blossomed as well. With the scholarship, she began formal music lessons, polishing her natural talent. Her father, proud beyond words, joined many events, often playing alongside Kennedy. Together, the senator with his banjo and the touring musician with his fiddle created moments that brought entire towns to their feet. Min learned leadership too, often guiding younger students, showing them how to tune their instruments, how to breathe through nerves, and how to stand tall before a crowd. The foundation's impact grew so quickly that invitations began arriving from outside Louisiana. A school district in Mississippi asked for help restarting its band program. A community in Arkansas wanted to host a festival modeled after Kennedy's Cajun music nights. Kennedy hesitated. He had never planned for it to spread so far, but Lily and Min encouraged him. Miss Clara said music could lift folks up, Lily reminded him. Why stop at one state? And so their journey expanded. They traveled farther, meeting new communities, sharing old Cajun songs and telling the story of a dare that had turned into a movement. Everywhere they went, people recognized Kennedy not just as a senator, but as the man who had picked up a banjo and shown that courage could start with a single song. But the journey wasn't without challenges. Critics accused Kennedy of chasing attention, questioning whether a politician should spend so much time on music. At first, the comments stung. Lily worried it would all collapse. But Kennedy only shook his head. Darling, people will always talk. What matters is the kids picking up those instruments. His steady resolve taught Lily another lesson. Leadership wasn't about pleasing everyone. It was about doing what was right. One evening after a long day at a rural festival, Kennedy sat with Lily and Min under the stars. The bayou air was thick with the smell of sweetgrass, and faint music still drifted from the town square. He pulled out Miss Clara's photo, worn from years of travel. She believed in me before I believed in myself, he said quietly. Now, I see that belief alive in both of you. Lily felt a warmth spread through her chest. Once she had dreaded being known as the senator's niece. Now she carried the name with pride. Min smiled too, her violin resting on her lap. We're carrying her music forward, she said. Kennedy nodded, his eyes shining. And that's the true encore. The night closed with laughter and quiet strumming, the sound of legacy echoing across the bayou, proof that one challenge, one song, had blossomed into something far greater than anyone imagined. 2 years after that fateful night in Baton Rouge, the Clara Thibodeaux Music Foundation had become a name far beyond Louisiana. What began with one banjo and one dare was now reaching audiences across the country and even overseas. Invitations arrived from universities, cultural centers, and youth programs from Europe to Asia. They wanted to hear the story of the senator who turned a joke into a movement, and the children whose lives had changed through music. For Kennedy, it was surreal. In Washington, he was still a senator, debating bills and policies, but everywhere else he was the man with the banjo. Journalists called him the politician who plays with heart. Though critics still whispered, his answer never changed. I'm not chasing applause, I'm chasing hope. Lily, now older and more confident, had found her own place in the spotlight. At foundation events, she spoke not as the senator's niece, but as someone who had lived through ridicule and learned courage. Her words reached young kids who felt invisible, reminding them that shame could transform into pride. She often told them, I once hid under my hoodie, terrified of being seen. But I learned that being seen is how you find your strength. Her transformation didn't go unnoticed. Schools began inviting her directly to speak at assemblies. She was no longer just supporting her uncle's mission, she was shaping her own. Min's journey was equally powerful. With her scholarship, she had blossomed into a gifted violinist, performing on stages she never dreamed she would see. At one event in New Orleans, she played alongside world-renowned musicians, her bow steady, her sound carrying through the hall with elegance and fire. Her father watched with tears in his eyes, proud beyond words. Kennedy, too, beamed, calling her proof of what belief and opportunity can do. The foundation reached its greatest milestone when they were invited to perform at an international cultural festival in Paris. The idea of Cajun and Zydeco music filling a European hall was almost unthinkable, but Kennedy agreed, seeing it as another chance to share Miss Clara's dream. The night of the performance, Lily stood backstage with Min, the Eiffel Tower glittering in the distance. Can you believe this? She whispered. Min smiled, adjusting her violin. From Baton Rouge to Paris, all because of one dare. When Kennedy stepped on stage, banjo in hand, the crowd of thousands fell silent. He strummed the opening notes of Jolie Blonde, and the unfamiliar Cajun rhythms floated across the French audience. Slowly, applause grew, then cheers, until the hall vibrated with energy. Min joined with her violin, weaving melodies that danced with Kennedy's chords. Lily sat in the front row, her heart full, as she realized this was no longer just her uncle's journey, it was theirs. After the performance, Kennedy held up Miss Clara's photo. His voice wavered but remained strong. "This woman gave me my first banjo. She told me music could lift people up. Tonight her words reached across an ocean." The crowd erupted once more, standing as one. Back at the hotel, Kennedy gathered Lily and Min. His voice was softer, wearier, but full of gratitude. "I may not have forever in politics or on stage, but what matters is what we leave behind. And I see both of you carrying this forward." Lily felt her throat tighten. She had once dreaded being his niece, but now she understood. She wasn't just part of his story. She was continuing it. Min nodded, eyes shining. "We'll keep it alive." Kennedy smiled, slipping the photo of Miss Clara into Lily's hand. "Then her legacy, and ours, will never fade." That night in the heart of Paris, with music echoing through their memories, Lily knew that what started as a joke had become something eternal, a promise fulfilled, a legacy carried, and a reminder that courage could ripple across the world. Years after that unforgettable night, John Neely Kennedy stood on a small wooden stage in his hometown of Zachary. The Clara Thibodeaux Music Festival had become an annual tradition, honoring the woman who had given him his first banjo. Children filled the stage with fiddles, guitars, and drums, their laughter echoing across the bayou. Beside him stood Lily and Min, no longer just the nervous girl hiding in her hoodie or the shy new student with a violin. Lily had grown into a confident young woman, speaking to crowds with ease, inspiring kids to believe in themselves. Min had become a rising musician, her music carrying both skill and soul, guiding others the way her father once guided her. Kennedy strummed the opening, notes of a Cajun melody, his voice weathered but warm. The crowd swayed, families holding hands, music uniting generations. As the final chord rang out, he looked to Lily and Min with pride. "This is our legacy," he whispered. "Courage, music, and connection. It will outlast us all." And under the Louisiana sky, with Miss Clara's spirit alive in every note, their story found its perfect ending.